Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. I am super happy to share with you all some great information. And I really wanted to choose this topic today because I feel like it's really a place where so many of my clients struggle. It's incredible. I mean, it's so pervasive in this day and age. We are so busy that meal prepping and planning and cooking seems to kind of go by the wayside. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about meal prep hacks and simplifying your life, because the bottom line is that we want to relax into the food part and let it take care of itself so that we can make the time for other things that are important. Yeah, food is super important. We love healthy, delicious, great food and sharing it with other people. But if that's our focus and worry all the time on how we're going to get meals that are healthy into us, we're kind of missing the point. So I want to discuss with you a little bit about why people resist planning and prepping, right? Because it's going to look different for everybody. And then I'm gonna help you hopefully avoid and kind of get through this resistance if that's you. And then I'm going to give you some big hacks for meal prepping and meal planning, right? And again, I'm going to make this so that everybody wins because everybody's different. Okay. I also want to give you a bunch of ideas and steps on how you can really make use of multiple meals in different ways. Okay, that's what it's all about. I never cook one meal and then cook a totally different meal the next day in every single meal. It just doesn't make sense to me. So the biggest meal prep and cook and planning stressors come from when people don't prioritize. Okay. Also, it really has to do with the kind of mindset that it's so restrictive, right? That you have to follow it a certain way because that's not the case, right? Maybe you're doing something that's just not working right now and you're even resistant to what's not working. You just want to just keep doing it and rinsing and repeating something that's not working. Other times I feel that people feel that if they try something different, they're going to fail, right? And it's not about failing. It's about really looking at, what works for you. And this also, it could be a different season that you do something different, right? Maybe it works for you at this month to do it this way. Next month, we'll change it up and do it another way. Okay. So here's some about 5 different things or ways that you can break this down is, you could try and do a system like batch cooking. You probably heard about batch cooking, maybe making like a casserole, stir fry, a soup or stew, like jarred meals, that kind of thing on the weekend, right? You could shop, let's say on Saturday, cook on Sunday with a recipe or without a recipe, and that's up to you, right? I personally do not use recipes. They don't work for me. I mean, I do sometimes, and then I write them down for recipes, right, for other people. But I use simple ingredients, and unless I'm trying something totally unique, and maybe I'm entertaining and I want to do something super special, then maybe I will follow a new recipe. If it's like ethnic that maybe I haven't tried that before, I've had it before, but I've never tried to make it. For instance, like an Ethiopian dish, right? Something like that. The other way is to plan a week in advance for the following week, right? Sometimes people have me do meal plans, and that really works for some people. So you know what you're getting, your list, you know what you're going to get, let's say Friday or Saturday, and you're going to cook on Sunday, and you're going to make it for the whole week. Or let's say you'll make it, your cooking will take place on Sunday for 3 days or 4 days. And then maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, you do the next 3 or 4 days. That works great. And then you can also decide that you want to plan just hours in advance. It could be 30 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, but you know that you've got your system, like you got your greens, you've got your proteins, you got your colorful veg, you got your dressings, your sauce, or whatever you're going to use, your healthy fats, you got your avocado, your coconut, and your olive oil to cook with, right? And maybe it's a finisher with some fresh herbs like basil, cilantro, parsley, right? You got your spices on hand. So let me give you a few statistics here, because this is really something pretty, you probably already know something like this, but just me pointing this out will really assist you in kind of making this decision to start really thinking a little bit more clearly on how to make this work for you. So eating out, which is typically far more expensive than cooking from home, accounts for 43% of the annual food expenditures for the average family. 43%. Is that nuts? I think it's crazy. And not to mention, I've always, I know when I'm on podcasts and other shows and talking about restaurants and eating, I know I've cooked in restaurants. I've cooked in restaurants for over 20 years of my life. So I know what goes on, whether it's a, open kitchen or closed kitchen, right? It is not cost effective for restaurants to get the healthiest fats and oils to use. It is not cost effective for a restaurant to get organic grass-fed beef or chicken, right? Maybe they get free range, or they'll get healthier farmers, but they're not usually organic unless it's stated grass-fed and finished. Wild fish, sometimes, yeah, you can find wild fish, but it's how the preparation happens that I'm not so crazy about. So we'll see restaurants using things like canola oil, sunflower oil. Tons of restaurants use a combination of olive oil and, let's say, safflower oil, or olive oil, canola oil. Tons of restaurants use their fryer oil over and over and over again. So the fat in your fryer in the restaurants, it's all trans fats, overheated fat. It's damaging to your arteries, it's damaging to your brain and your nervous system. You do not want to eat fried restaurant food. If you want fried food, fry it at home using the fat ones. So you definitely want to be careful also, because most restaurants don't have organic vegetables. Very seldom do you see like a restaurant have all organic vegetables. There are some that may do like organic spinach and tomatoes and greens and maybe avocado, but like the basics, and never everything. So, and then we've got the food handling, right? That's another thing. How many people are handling your food before it goes out? Are those people, healthy when they cook? And, look, I'm like you. I enjoy eating out at restaurants, and I do go out. I definitely go out, but I definitely go out less than I ever have. Not just because of COVID, but just because I just want to know where my food's coming from. Yeah. Okay, so let us talk about how you can plan and shop, right? Like I mentioned before, planning can take place in your head or on paper. You can cook, prep one day, shop, and then cook another day, or you can cook it all in one day. Personally, I don't want to waste a Sunday 3 hours, 4 hours in the kitchen. So I'm going to split it up, right? And I'm not going to get every single thing for the whole week. That doesn't work for me. It works for a lot of people, but I prefer to shop twice at least. I may, go back a little bit if I forgot this, but, we're fortunate to have a grocery store about 5 minutes away by car. So that is okay for me. And it's a great grocery store. It's all organic and stuff. Okay. So, you want to think about your big staples. Like I mentioned, proteins, right? Whether you're an omnivore, a vegan, a vegetarian, you're going to want to have your protein, right? It's going to be either your legumes, your nuts and seeds, your tempeh tofu, that kind of thing. If you're a vegan, if you're not, if you're an omnivore, your wild caught fish, and again, wild caught fish, you want to see that word wild caught. I could go on to a huge explanation, but we won't take that time for now. You want to get organic and pasture raised beef, lamb, or chicken or turkey. That is another key word, organic and pasture raised. Okay. And from start to finish on the beef, a lot of times they'll finish it with grass, but they will raise it on corn or grain. They also reverse that. Super important. Okay. Also getting wild meats, right? Like bison, elk, venison, that kind of thing, if you can find it. I like to buy my meats on a place called, what is it called? It's called Butcher Box. And there's another place called US Wellness Meats, which is fantastic. So that's the protein. And we want to also think about our healthy fats. What are we stocking in our kitchen? Avocado oil, avocados as well for our fats, are olive oils and olives, coconut oil. I love coconut manna. I keep talking about coconut manna. It's an amazing thing. Manna means food from the god, right? Fruits from the gods. And you can literally take a spoonful of that stuff, use it as a spread. You cannot cook with it, or at least you shouldn't, because it doesn't have enough oil in it to make it melt. But I do make beautiful truffles with it. I've taught that so many years. I'm sounding like a broken record, but literally you can just warm it up in the summer with ambient temperature, warm like it is, it's spreadable. It's like you just stir it up and add any kind of nut, seed flavoring you want. I like to use cacao nibs in there. Doesn't even need any sweetener, doesn't have any sweetness to it, but it's natural flavor sweet, and pour it into a little candy molds. Amazing. And when you have a kind of a craving for something that's rich and sweet, pop one of those in your mouth. Totally healthy, no sugar, and you're just so satisfied. It's amazing. You can also mix it with nut or seed butter, half and half. And that's another great snack. You could just do the same thing. You could put like pistachios in it. You could put dried fruit or not. You could put berries in it, goji berries, that kind of thing. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, all right. So we've talked about fats. Now, what about all the veg, right? So we want to think about in our food source, in this food chain, there are so many. You want to think colors of the rainbow, okay? All the colors, and not just getting stuck on one. It's not all about green, although green's fabulously important. But what about the red, the pepper, the tomatoes, that kind of thing, the pomegranates, the red chard, things like that. The yellows, the yellow crookneck squash and zucchini, some squashes and sweet potato. The orange, again, yams, sweet potatoes, yams are also sweet potatoes. Things like squash and orange peppers, beautiful stuff. The purples, the purple eggplant, purple cauliflower, purple kale, right? Purple potatoes, purple sweet potatoes. I could go on and on and on. So we've got our veg, right? We've got our root veg. You want to also definitely think about the starchy ones that last a lot longer than the leafy ones. You want to use the leafier, more prone to spoiling vegetables first when you cook, and the starchy ones can, or rather, let me switch that around. So you want to use your starchy ones because they last a lot longer. I'm totally messing this up. Erase, cut. Okay, so what I mean is when you have starchy vegetables, those last longer than the non-starchy, than the ones that actually grow above the ground. Does that make sense? Thank you. Okay, so herbs and spices, that's essential. That's our medicine cabinet. Herbs and spices have more antioxidants than vegetables alone, right? So we definitely want to use those. They're very, very, they help mitigate the damage from free radicals from cooking, mitigating the damage from cooking in high heat fats. If you're grilling, if you're char broiling, things like that, you need to marinate your food in herbs and spices, lots of garlic, lots of healthy fat and spices, right? Okay, so we've talked about protein, we talked about fat and vegetables. What about condiments? Huge. And this is stuff that's going to really, really help you in the moment. Let's say you don't have very much to cook with, but just a bed of greens, some quinoa, and a piece of fish, or doing a dal or a stew and having that over a big salad, or making a wrap out of a kale leaf or for a chard leaf. Those are amazing things. Okay, so things like pestos. I personally like to make pesto, but you can find store-bought pesto, right? Red pepper sauce or hot chili sauce. Things like, I mean, there's amazing hot sauces out there from South America, from Peru, from the ají amarillo, if you can find that, or Mexican hot sauces. Those are tremendous. Okay, so let me get into some really, really great ideas for you. I've got about 20 little bullet points here that I want to share with you that I think it will really, really help. Okay, so when we do our prep, when we do our cooking, and let's say now, fall is coming, we're going to be inside a little bit more. We've got fall flavors, we've got richer flavors, squashes are going to be in season. You want to think about, more stews and things like that. Prep ahead meals now, less salads, more stews and things like that. This is where you can really, really do big batches of things like, a stew or a soup, carrot soup, or a bean stew, or a chili. So easy to find a recipe for that, right? Make a huge batch. And obviously you're not going to be eating that well, some people could eat that the whole week. My palate gets a little bored. So what I will do is I'll have it for a couple of days and then batch freeze the rest. So I'll make maybe 4 little containers of 2 servings each, and then put it in the fridge, in the freezer, so that you have it for the rest of the month or the rest of the 2 to 3 months. That really, really helps. So you kind of, your mind and your palate kind of forgets about it. And then you can revisit it when it's a rainy day and you don't feel like going to the market, right? Another way you can kind of combat the boredom of what you're cooking, because a lot of people get into these cooking ruts, is to cut with a real sharp knife. Make sure a really nice sharp knife that you have. Cut different slices, different shapes. That really helps. If you're using like a mandolin, or if you're using a sharp knife, maybe it's like a French fry shape, or maybe it's a square, or a brunoise. Brunoise is like a really tiny square. So you can just play around with that. Using, instead of starch of being, let's say, rice, or like a pasta or something like that, making your beans or lentils your starch is really great, because you get more protein, you get more fiber, and you get more B vitamins and a lot more interest. Just using like black beans, for instance, have that pigment in it. It's kind of purple, and those that purple pigment comes from something called anthocyanidins. And anthocyanidins are wonderful for brain health. So think of color, right? So that would be great for starches. Now, reusing, let's say, one starch or even a bean into multiple different recipes. Like, let's say quinoa can be made into a burger. It could be made into a salad. You could make it, you could put it into, let's say, a frittata, and make it more of a quinoa, a little more starchy. Many different ways. You could throw it on the bottom of a jar, where you could have, layer in your vegetables and a dressing, and that's fantastic. Reusing leftover vegetables is really great. I talked about putting jars together. Those are great, putting in there, but you could also put them in a soup. You could chop them up and wrap them. Let's say if you're going to make something like a tofu salad, or a tempeh salad, or salmon or chicken, you might want to maybe mix it with some vegan mayonnaise, or mayonnaise from olive oil or avocado oil, and some celery, and maybe a spice. And then maybe you've got some vegetables, and you roll it up in either a coconut wrapper, or you could do like a nut-based taco, or a green leaf taco. Fantastic. So you want to think of, certain things is like a canvas, right? So your vegetables, your salad greens, that's your canvas, right? And then you put your proteins and your fats on top. So many different ways. Now, for those of you who aren't as established in the kitchen, there's a lot of different ways where you can, I don't want to say the word cheat, but what I mean is maybe cut corners just a little bit by buying something and then adding to it at home. I do this all the time. If like I'm getting a restaurant meal takeout, I might order that, and then I'll embellish it with more fresh vegetables. Okay, as an example, let's say we order Thai. We have a really, really healthy Thai restaurant, order Thai, and then I'll just make more wraps. Instead of using a lot of rice paper, I have some lettuce wraps or some collard green wraps. I might add some fresh peppers and tomatoes, right, to the Thai salad. So that's fun. Buying even a roast chicken or whatever it is, a roast meat or whatever you're using, and then adding a salad, right? A salad or leftovers, or make some sweet potatoes, something like that. Something else to really, really make your life easy, instead of like wasting a lot of time looking at so many different recipes, is just buying some simple spice combinations, right? There's lots and lots out on the market: Italian, Thai, Vietnamese, Moroccan, and it just makes it a lot easier than having to figure out the proportions of individual spices. Same thing with buying utensils to hold your food nicely, like let's say jars that stack, square Tupperwares that stack. You don't want to have a bunch of different shapes everywhere, and it's hard to get them in the kitchen, right? And get them into your refrigerator. So think about that. Flavor, like flavor enhancers, like think about garlic, scallions, chili, basil, fresh mint, thyme. You can put those in your olive oil overnight and then have the beautiful flavor that takes part the next day. So put those in your refrigerator after, because just in case there's any moisture on your herbs, that might maybe create mold over time. So definitely put those in the refrigerator after. It's okay if you have vinegar or acid in that mixture and you leave it out, but definitely be careful if you're not using it the next, like in 24 hours. So the other thing you can do is, make a quick aioli with a beautiful, nice olive oil or avocado oil based mayo, and just add the herb or spice or garlic. That's beautiful. Thinking ahead of time when it comes to your nuts and seeds, maybe toasting them for the week, toasting pine nuts, toasting pumpkin seeds, beautiful. So easy for a quick snack or to throw on a stir fry or a salad, so easy. We all know the simple things, like having hard-boiled eggs or having hummus. Those are really simple things for, simple eaters. But if you like, more of a flair, something a little more special, consider, mixing things, like mixing, let's say, like a pesto with a hummus, right? Or adding some turmeric or toasted cumin seeds. That's a really nice thing. Or even adding like more beans to the hummus, right? Because then it'll add more abundant protein to your mixture there, to your hummus. It's beautiful. Okay. Another thing you can do to get ahead, if let's say you don't like to follow recipes, is just simply washing your greens, like chard, kale, collard, that kind of thing, and wrapping them, layering them on towels so that you stack them up so that they're ready to go. So when you want to use them for, let's say, leftover lunch from dinner the night before, you can have those ready to go. Instead of using a taco shell or chapati, you can use the green wrap. It's ready to go. I love and love to have a frozen stash, right? I mentioned old meals that I cooked before. Also, just buying a few bags of, let's say, frozen cauliflower, frozen broccoli, frozen berries, especially wild berries, so many different things, so that I have them on hand for, let's say, quick smoothies, or if I'm going to make a nice, like a coconut muffin, I'll throw in I'll throw in the fruit and it's all ready to go. I like to use frozen cauliflower to make my smoothies nice and creamy. Instead of using like a whole bunch of banana, I'll add the white or broccoli if I'm making a green smoothie. And that way it adds an abundance of antioxidants without, having to use too much fruit. And so that's pretty much, some of the stuff that I have for you today. I hope that that was digestible for you. I didn't want to overdo the information. As I said, you know, I'm open to offering so many recipes. If you have any comments or any, you know, real like passions for a specific food or a specific, let's say, type of snack, there's so many options out there. You know, even if you want to brainstorm, go to Thrive Market online, thrivemarket.com, and you could put in the type of eating style that you are, and it'll come up with tons of ideas on snacks. I don't like to snack too much. I like to keep my snacking to a minimum to keep my blood sugar stable. But from time to time, you know, just finding a really healthy snack is easy if you have the stash on hand, but sometimes there's those emergencies where you just don't have that. But you know, celery and nut butter, seed butter, some fruit with some yogurt, um, cacao nibs, dark chocolate, but you can get other things that are ready-made, like jerky, coconut jerky, like, you know, canned jackfruit or pouched jackfruit. That's a vegan option for the vegans. Pouched salmon, you know, those quick things that you could literally just throw together on a bed of greens, add an avocado, a bunch of seeds, and then, you know, either oil and vinegar or store-bought dressing. Store-bought dressings, you do have to be really careful about. You really want to get a one with the shortest ingredient list. Make sure that it has its base fat or oil as avocado or olive oil. Okay, there are very few companies that do that. One company that does that I really like is Primal Kitchen. Primal Kitchen has a great line of sauces and dressings. It's so funny, you know, I never liked ranch dressing. Never liked it. I didn't grow up with it. I grew up kind of with a European palate flavor in my food. And I just, you know, white creamy stuff never did it for me. But I did buy some the other day and I really liked it. I really liked it. And it tasted super light. And it's just something different, like for carrot dipping, carrot sticks or cucumbers or jicama. And jicama is another one that is a great snack to have on hand. It's non-caloric. It's rich in resistant fiber, and literally that stuff you could either cook with it or not. You can make chips. You could do that raw, like a little, you know, make little sticks with it, and then just put lime or lemon, sea salt, and chili. It's beautiful. It's just incredible. So that's what I have for you. And I hope you got some takeaways. I'd love to hear what those takeaways are. Just drop me a line. And all in all, I think that, you know, I just really would like people to just not fret. You know, don't beat yourself up about it. Just try new stuff and see where the rough patches are. That's the only way for you to assess where you need to grow and what you need to do better. Please don't be a stick in the mud, right? The more different things we try, the more of a wide variety our diet has. And, you know, we know that the more variety we have, the more gut bacteria is balanced, right? If we have the same foods over and over again, then we can tend to keep that, you know, same microflora. So let's try something different. And also remember to walk after your meals, especially dinner. Get some movement in your body after you eat those big dinners or have a dinner at all. And that's going to really help just balance your blood sugar and your insulin level and keep you nice and healthy. Hope this was super helpful to you. And again, drop me a line and tell me what your takeaways are. Take care.